Welcome to the Great Unlearning Channel with KrizNative.
Who am I? Liberation, the journey to unending beauty. Education consists mostly of what we have unlearned. Mark Twain. The first part of this final episode on liberation will mostly be directed to those who have already turned the spotlight of their consciousness inward towards the self. The reason for this is that this episode will contain some practical tips and paradoxes that may not be immediately intuitive to all. However, if you have been following this series and a seed has been planted, I invite you to watch as well, for where there is fertile ground, there is bound to be germination. In the second part of this final episode towards the closing, I will proceed to wind down the concepts and start to make more sense to those who have not yet embarked on the inward journey. For those who have embarked on the inward journey of self-inquiry, guided by grace and intuition, some of the concepts will resonate immediately, as you are the ones who have already awakened the inner guru, teacher, or comforter, as this principle is called in the Western mystery traditions. This inner teacher is the comforter that John, the grand hierophant of the mysteries at the time, spoke about. He posited that the teacher should come from within the seeker himself to teach and eventually lead the seeker to liberation, a position that John himself admitted that he himself was not worthy of. The inner guru or teacher that I refer to reveals itself to all who have sought the inner path. You may be familiar with the ancient adage that when the student is ready, the master will appear. This is not a physical phenomenon but a genuine transformation of the psyche, where hidden or latent capacities emerge from within the spiritual essence of humanity. The student is then guided by the inner voice that bestows tranquility, ease, and streams of living wisdom. It is akin to being attuned to a frequency or a radio station where knowledge and wisdom are always accessible to the seeker. Essentially, the student and the inner guru are indistinguishable. Both embody the timeless essence from which all actions and perceptions arise. The only disparity lies in the realization that one is already established in their true nature and has the knowledge of how to get the neophyte to liberation, while the other remains as yet unaware, still rooted in the illusion of materialism. Remember to leave a comment if you want to share a particular perspective. Let us begin. Liberation, a state of utmost freedom, does not pertain to the ego, as it transcends the confines of personal identity. Nevertheless, the personal identity, or false ego, assumes a significant role in everyday existence. Everything seems contingent upon it. Yet, the ego is nothing more than a reflecting projection, an habitual construct shaped by memory and fueled by desire. Inquire within, asking, "Who am I?" and discerningly observe that the questioner, thinker, doer, and sufferer are mere forms emerging and dissolving within the consciousness of I am, the ever-present backdrop of existence. The thinker, the doer, and the sufferer possess no inherent reality of their own. It then becomes apparent to you, the inquirer, that the notion of being a person, an ego, arises merely from a mistaken perception, and because of its undoubtedly temporary nature, it cannot be the reality. It will then become apparent that thoughts, feelings, and actions emerge and vanish endlessly, weaving an illusion of continuity. As stated previously, the idea of personhood, or of an ego, is merely an image bound together by the threads of memory. Without memory or without the story, there is no such thing as what we would call a person. There is only being, or what I have called in this series consciousness, our primary and permanent reality. Creativity, an expression of the ultimate reality, loses its essence when one forgets their identity as one with the source of all being and succumbs to insecurity and identification with the created. One begins to see that the realm of so-called objects, akin to the ego, is nothing more than a projection. To believe that you are permanently this or that is a product of your imagination, a hallucination, which are the characteristic of both the waking and the dream states. Please assist me to keep this channel going by liking and subscribing. I appreciate your support. The inner guru aids in the comprehension of one's true nature through their unwavering presence and the gift of teaching. They illuminate the fact that you are neither an object nor an ego. Fundamentally, your essence and who you truly are defies objectification. It does not adhere to the constraints of the illusion of time and space. So, then, how can one be liberated from the mental confusion? Simply be aware of it. Go back to your primary state of awareness, which is the essence of who you are. Observe how your functioning unfolds without any intent to alter anything. Vigilance purifies the mind and, eventually, positions you knowingly beyond its realm. In your quest for self-realization, you encounter fluctuations because you have yet to perceive things from a holistic standpoint, unified and complete. This instability will continue to persist as long as you consider yourself primarily as the body and mind complex. The mind will also continue to mislead you until you grasp its true nature. This realization stems from deep internal listening to the inner teacher you are attuned to, always found in the present moment, free from the influence of the past. Live in the wisdom imparted by the inner teacher and the subtle reminders of truth that they awaken within you. These silent, unspoken reminders manifest as the fragrance of that which they point to. Align yourself with this profound stillness, not with the external turbulence, which you are not. Understand that those who are liberated do not identify solely and wholly with the gross materialism of the world. It is understood that the true richness of life exists in knowing yourself through direct experience as an expression of consciousness. At your core, you are devoid of cause and completely autonomous, and at the center of your being lies the doorway to the knowing, I am. Consequently, perceiving yourself as an individual doer entangled in a world of choices is an illusory creation of the ego. Therefore, turn towards this impersonal background whenever the opportunity arises. Acknowledge that your attention perpetually oscillates between objects and ideas. Become the observer, attuned to the natural flow of life, your motives, actions, and their outcomes. It will be enough to just observe the barriers that you have erected around yourself, but don't try to break them down. Simply observe them. They will break themselves down simply through the power of your observation. As you deepen your awareness of your body and mind, you will come to know your true self. This self is the irreducible and unchanging awareness that you have always been. As the illusory image of the world as you conceive it diminishes, you will gain a clear insight, vision, intuition, wisdom, self-knowledge and understanding into your true nature and an identity distinct from the mind's constructs. Gradually, you will feel increasingly detached from whatever arises, until one day you discover yourself to be the perceiver, realizing it is not the bodily instrument that perceives, but the silent, unborn awareness within. Once you liberate yourself from the notion, I am my body, and the ramifications it entails, you will awaken to your inherent state of being. Surrender yourself wholeheartedly to this revelation. This is the ultimate sacrifice that the inquirer must undertake to attain liberation. Accept everything as it is and surrender. Genuine awareness cannot be attained by projecting known factors in the form of concepts and perceptions. What you fundamentally are cannot be experienced through reason alone, it can only be realized through the elimination of that which you are not. In other words, you must become nothing in order to be something other than the limitations you currently perceive yourself to be. A stubborn ego will inevitably impede your ability to simply be. This is the aspect of you that must ultimately be dissolved. Remember that the ego appears to be real, but has no real substance. It is the phantom imposter. The real witness must step onto the stage, allowing the ego to be recognized for what it truly is, an illusion. This witnessing presence, the light of your ever-present awareness, serves as a pedagogical instrument, opening the door to being. The ego cannot truly know itself because it identifies with its thoughts, emotions, instincts, and experiences. For the ego, resistance, defensiveness, and restlessness prevail. It is only the silent witness that can radiate forth, revealing the ego's illusory nature. In this state of contemplative witnessing, we are ultimately led to the discovery of what we are not. We become aware of our body and thought patterns, the motivations behind our actions, of which we were scarcely conscious before. When we observe thoughts without interference or evaluation, without attaching to them, the thoughts dissipate in the act of observation. As the emphasis shifts from the thought process and its content to the act of observing itself, the witness state becomes a process of purification, a letting go, without any individual who purifies or lets go. A vast realm of previously unseen energies unfold, transforming your psyche. Mental activity ceases its agitated nature and naturally follows its course. In this attentive state, we come to recognize ourselves. This means that we know ourselves again as the consciousness that we always were, but have forgotten. This forgetfulness stems from the initial stages, around the time when the mind first arose, when the body was still merely an infant, and preceding the time when pure consciousness simply was. In the attentive state, we completely relinquish the reflex of identifying with I am this or I am that. This attention surpasses both the experience and the experiencer. The world, as we know it, exists only when we engage in thoughts about it. This implies that our perception of reality is subjective and dependent on our cognitive processes. Without thinking, we would not be able to make sense of the sensory inputs that we receive from the external world. We would not be able to categorize, interpret, evaluate, or remember anything that happens around us. We would not be able to form beliefs, opinions, values, or emotions that shape our behavior and identity. In the attentive state, creation stories belong to the realm of childhood fables and are finally seen for what they are. It is then seen that the world is perpetually created in each moment and is always in a constant state of flux. It has already been stated previously that continuity is an illusion conjured by memory. It is also worth reiterating that the individual ego lacks an independent existence. It is a fabrication of memory and habit. Restlessly striving, seeking accumulation, confirmation, and security, the ego is essentially driven by fear and rarely dares to profoundly question itself. All perceptions, all experiences are entwined with time and are ephemeral, yet it will be now seen that it is our essential nature that transcends time. Our failure to discern this clearly leads us to identify with temporality. When timeless moments beckon, embrace the invitation. Delve deeply into them until you discover yourself in the absence of self. The only truth is being, an autonomous and causeless essence. When false notions are perceived for what they truly are, illumination dawns. Remember that renunciation occurs without an identifiable renouncer. This direct path, free from choices, liberates energy and effortlessly establishes one in true being. The world exists because of your existence, yet you are not the world. Objects of consciousness, names, and forms constitute the world, while reality, inherently tranquil, transcends them all. It is merely by reflex that you insist upon the identification with name and form, thus eluding reality. There is nothing beyond consciousness. Consciousness is the primary reality, and when all forms have dissolved, consciousness is what remains. The universe, your personal I, all manifest within it. All phenomena exist within consciousness. Consciousness is available to us as our own awareness. Imagination has estranged us from this awareness, this consciousness, and we have ensnared ourselves by fears, concepts, and images. The state of wakefulness and the dream state are both superimposed upon this serene awareness that we all share. What you do holds no importance whatsoever. What truly matters is the manner in which you do it and your inner disposition. The role you enact upon the world stage possesses no significance apart from the clarity with which you perform it. Do not lose yourself in your performance, as it merely obfuscates your inner essence. Action devoid of self-interest does not bind, on the contrary, it sets you free. Live in the present moment, simply be. Making choices relies on memory and can swiftly become a form of enslavement. Remain as being, and you will awaken to bliss. I would love to hear your opinion on this channel. Please comment. We are not the body. However, before stating this, it seems imperative to discern precisely what the body is, which we are not. The body encompasses the five senses. Without them, we could not speak of a body. Primarily, we experience the body through sensations and perception only. These sensations may assume various forms: a feeling of heaviness or lightness, warmth or coldness, tension or relaxation. These sensations are also memories and habits to which we have grown accustomed. They serve as a means through which the notion of I am the body reassures itself of its existence. In other words, they are superimpositions upon the body's primal and natural state. Hence, when we assert that we must first comprehend what we are not, it signifies a complete awareness of these superimpositions. As already mentioned, the sensations as we apprehend them are conditioned feelings that pertain to the concept of I am the body. Within these superimpositions, the person, the I, finds its foothold, seeking to locate itself either within sensations or ideas. The only way to emancipate oneself from conditioning is to observe without memory, without collaboration, and without conditioning. Allow whatever feelings arise within you to emerge without visualizing or fixating upon them. By permitting the feelings to arise in the presence of the witnessing I, in the realm of undivided attention, devoid of boundaries or centers, the body undergoes a gradual process of dissolution as all superimpositions fade away before this witness. At this point in your inquiry, you will observe a true release from conditioning. The emphasis previously placed erroneously on conditioning as a means of reassuring the person now shifts toward observation, toward witnessing. Eventually, you will find yourself as the radiance beyond all that is witnessed. This represents your natural state of expansive awareness and energy, vacant and luminous. Initially, the newly perceived bodily sensations may appear delicate, and you may be enticed by the old patterns. Yet, the body possesses an organic memory, a memory of its inherent state of ease, which, once reawakened and sustained, will eventually become permanent. The old sensations will become foreign to you, you may even struggle to recall them. Then, you will realize that the body emerges within you, within consciousness, and you are not ensnared by it. That is to say that consciousness is not in the body, but rather, the body is in consciousness. Liberation, as understood in the combined spiritual vision of all the great sages throughout history and all Jivan Muktas or liberated souls like Ramana Maharshi, is the profound recognition of our true nature and is often likened to the exquisite experience and the beautiful yet misunderstood process of death. The beautiful experience of deep sleep, like liberation, is characterized by the absence of our usual identity, our roles, and relationships. In deep sleep, we relinquish our grip on the realm of the waking state, surrendering to an inherent peace and serenity. This is, according to the Great Awakened sages, a mirror of the state of liberation, where we disidentify from our mind and body and merge with our true, non-dual nature. Liberation, as articulated by the awakened or enlightened of our species, is not a mere concept to be grasped intellectually. It is a living experience, as natural and accessible as the tranquility of deep sleep. Deep in the peace of deep sleep, we are untouched by fear, desire, or suffering. In deep sleep, we are in infinite consciousness where there is the peace that surpasses all understanding. Everything exists in infinite consciousness, and we are therefore in want of nothing or no thing, meaning no objects. In this model of deep sleep lies the mystery of the beautiful process of death, which is so grossly misunderstood. We return to our primal, undisturbed consciousness, where we experience an inexplicable joy and serenity. This waking sleep, in the model of deep sleep as Ramana Maharshi termed it, is the state of liberation. Death, too, in this combined perspective, is not an event that extinguishes us but a transition that reveals our true identity. The death of the physical body merely removes the veil of personhood, leading to the direct experience of our undying nature. As we shed the sheath of the body-mind complex, we realize that we are not a fleeting entity, but the eternal consciousness that observes the transitory play of life. Maharshi, in his teachings, often compared this liberation to death. In his view, self-realization or liberation is akin to experiencing death while living. This is not a physical death but a death of the ego, a dissolution of the illusionary self into the unbounded self or the return of the mind back into its source, consciousness. This is the mystery of the crucifixion for those who have truly understood it, which is to die before you die. It's a death that brings the ultimate liberation, freeing us even from the ultimate cycle of birth and death. All liberated sages too, in line with this view, invites us to die before we die, to willingly let go of our clinging to the transitory, to plunge into the depths of our being, where we discover that we are not a limited self but the unlimited, eternal awareness. Liberation is thus a profound realization of our inherent freedom, a freedom that we already are, yet obscured by the illusion of separate selfhood. It's an awakening to the reality that we are not encapsulated entities doomed to suffer and perish, but the deathless awareness that is eternally at peace. Both deep sleep and death serve as metaphors and pointers towards this liberation. They both climb the steps towards peace. Peace in sleep, while still with the body, and peace in death, when divested from the limitations of the body at the end of physical life. They hint at a state beyond the limitations of the waking and dream states, a state of pure, objectless awareness, beyond the grip of fear and the confines of time and space. This is the liberation that Sri Ramana Maharshi and the great sages of every era invite us to recognize and realize, the liberation that is our natural, inalienable state. I appreciate your support and interest in this 4-part series. My hope is that you have learned something new and valuable from it. If you want to keep exploring and challenging yourself, please like, subscribe, and join us again in the next series on the Great Unlearning Channel. Follow the link at the end to watch the music video for this series. Thank you for your attention.